What impact will an air traffic control slowdown have on the airline business and on their stocks? Joining us, Seth Kaplan. He's managing partner at Airline Weekly. That's an online airline industry newsletter. And our own Philip O's joining us as well. Seth, obviously the sequester was meant to be a worst-case scenario. Nobody wanted to see it happen, but it has. Is this the worst-case scenario for the airline business right now, in your view?
Not the worst case scenario, but it's certainly very frustrating for all the things we can't control in this world, and certainly in the airline industry. Here's something that's, it's not a blizzard or something beyond anybody's control, something that could have been avoided, but here we are. Now, for some perspective, the most impact, it tends to be on the shortest flights where people could, for example, choose to hop in a car instead, or maybe take the train in the Northeast. That's about 1 out of 10 travelers who take those kinds of trips. The other 9 out of 10 are on those longer flights where, you can't exactly decide to drive to Europe or Asia instead.
Right.
That's an interesting analysis. Phil, what do you think? How significant will this be on the airlines, and who do you think gets most impacted?
Well, clearly the airlines that have the most exposure to the Northeast. When you look at somebody like a JetBlue, because of their exposure to the New York area airports, because that's the congested area in terms of the national grid, or United with O'Hare, they're going to be impacted probably more than others. I think the bottom line is that we're not going to see a huge outcry until there is a big storm system that goes through, and then we see massive delays. Then you have people complaining vociferously at airports. That's when you're going to have people saying, what's going on here? But in the meantime, delays like we've seen yesterday or today, that's not enough to get people really, really upset.
And Phil, I would add, by the way, that another distinction to make, in addition to what you correctly said, is that we should look at the airlines that handle the most short-haul travel. Southwest, among the major airlines, is really an airline that makes its money taking people between places like Dallas and Houston, trips that you could do by car. And so that's one that might be a bit more disproportionately impacted than others.
Seth, in your view, how long? I mean, we don't know how long this is going to go on, how long the sequester is going to be here and all that. Is there a grace period for the airline business that they can absorb the slowdowns and things like that, and then after that they have really a problem on their hands? Or what do you think?
Well, sure. Certainly, if in the best case scenario, 3 or 4 days from now this is over, again, it'll be like a blizzard, like one of those things that's a mess, but goes away and is quickly forgotten. If this continues on, again, those short-haul flights, and by the way, this is not the first time we've had something like that happen, in the sense that after 9/11, the trips that were most significantly impacted for the long term, and even today, to some degree, are those short flights where people can choose to drive. So if this continues, those are going to be the kinds of trips where people are going to say, you know what, I'm not going to deal with that. But probably talking about 3 or 4% of airline revenue overall. Again, a little more for an airline like Southwest, a little less for airlines like Delta and United.
Bill and Maria, make no mistake. Make no mistake. Starting tomorrow on the conference calls for the earnings, every airline's going to bring it up, and every airline's going to make a point of saying, woe is us, because we're being impacted by this.
Well, I mean, what about the opportunity of a change, of a reversal here? I mean, Phil, could the public outcry get the FAA to change its mind about actually putting this into effect?
I think it's less likely they'll get the FAA to change their mind. It's more likely, if there's huge public outcry, that then you have people in Congress who will say, okay, what can we do special in terms of funding so that the FAA can reverse this? But I don't think the FAA has any plans to change it on its own.
All right, guys, we have breaking news. We want to thank you so much for joining us and get to our breaking news desk.